Schrock Innovations presents the Midwest's #1 independent computer repair company with service centers in Lincoln, Omaha, Papillion, Des Moines, and across the country via the Schrock desk. This is Compute This.
Good morning, folks, and welcome into Compute This. My name's Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company, where we have 4 locations to help you out when your computer is having trouble, when your hard drive's not working right, when you've got that issue with your Wi-Fi and it doesn't quite reach. We are the company that can come to you, fix your problem, and when we come to you and work with you to fix your problem, when that exchange is done, we have not been successful unless you feel satisfied with your care. It's kind of like we're Baymax. You've ever seen that movie Baymax? You know, I can't put myself away until you say I'm satisfied with my care. Well, you'll be satisfied with your care. And I mean, it's amazing. We got some newer guys that have come in. We've hired 2 or 3 newer guys. It's been a challenge, honestly, to get new people in, as you heard during the news break. But when we bring people in, one of the toughest things to get them to understand, because some of them come from other computer repair shops, is that we are different at Schrock. We do things differently. So one of the things that we do at least once a year is we have the new employees purposefully break a computer. Like literally, they do something to a computer to make it not work, and then they take off the blue shirt and they go to our competitor and drop the computer off for a diagnostic and a repair. And we ask them to look at things like, how does the place smell? Is it organized? Is it clean? Is there junk laying around everywhere? How about the people that helped you? Did they smell? I mean, it's a real thing. Come on, it's stereotypical computer guy, right? You know, we're everything. Take in the whole experience of the shop. Were you treated nicely? Did they treat you like an idiot? You're obviously not an idiot. You know exactly what you did to break the computer. And I have to tell you, there was one shop that we took a computer to in the Lincoln metro area this time around. We've never taken one to this shop before. And literally, one of their technicians told one of my senior technicians, because he didn't know he was a senior technician, right? He didn't know he was with Schrock because he took the shirt off, you see. And we dropped the computer off, and literally what he did is he tore a capacitor off the motherboard. So literally, he grabbed one of those little cylinders in there that are on the circuit boards and took a pair of pliers and pulled it off. And he's like, I didn't think the thing would boot, but it seemed to boot and work perfectly fine. And so then, you got a power supply with a rumbly fan and all kinds of stuff, and he sent it in, and he was talking to the guy, and the guy literally couldn't have been more condescending. Well, sir, this is kind of what we do as professionals for a living, so we kind of know what we're talking about. Eli was like, I wanted to choke that man. And I'm like, see, and that's the thing. If you leave our service center wanting to kill my employees, we have not been successful. You are not satisfied with your care. So we got to make sure that when people leave our service centers, they're happy. And so we have a lot of systems in place to do that. And even though we have best efforts, there are some people in the world that just don't want to be happy. They exist. And then there are some times when humans make mistakes, when we do something that's wrong that we have to make right. It doesn't happen as often as, it happens more often than I would like, but less often than, the systems are working, but they can always get better. That's how bureaucracy is born, by the way. One little failure creates a new rule that has to be followed forever, and eventually nobody remembers why that rule is there, but it's there to prevent problems. The problem is then what happens when that becomes obsolete? Before email, now we have a new rule for email, but the old rule for memos still applies to emails, even though no one sends paper memos anymore. Do you say, am I the only one that sends their emails in triplicate? I don't know. 888-250-2091 is the number to join us on the program today. If you ask a question or make a comment, we'll put you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Good for anything your heart desires in the service center. All you have to do is call in, be a part of the program. Compute This is recorded live Sunday mornings at 7 on 1110 KFAB in Omaha. And that's when you want to call in. If you try to call in later on, sometimes it airs at different times on different stations. You won't get in, obviously, because, we're not there, In the meantime, if you prefer to watch the show live, we are broadcasting the program live right now on Facebook. The address to go watch it is facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. And you can ask questions, interact there with all of Schrockville. They called themselves that. I didn't do that. I'm not that much of a narcissist, okay? But I don't have my own town. But, no, I'm just kidding. We've talked about a compound, though. No. you can check it out, facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. Now, last week on the program, if you missed the show last week, it was great. We talked about, we made a lot of assumptions about what was going on with the Colonial Pipeline. Turns out all of our assumptions are correct. There is still $7 gas at the end of this week in Virginia. The pipeline, yes, the pipeline is operating, but the gas in the pipeline moves at like 5 miles an hour. So you try to drive across 10 states at 5 miles an hour and tell me how long it takes you to get the wagon train to Virginia. It's going to take some time. Number two. So we're going to wrap that up on the show today. Actually, we're going to talk a little bit more about exactly what happened, the timeline of what happened, how it happened, and how that is applicable to your lives. Because it is directly applicable to every single person that owns a computer. There are lessons that can be learned here that will save you mucho heartache down the road. And you don't want to miss those lessons. Last week we also told you about how Australia felt that privacy is for criminals. If you're not doing anything wrong, as the adage goes, what do you got to hide? Leave your transactions unencrypted in the open so that all the bad guys who are doing things wrong can take them and victimize you. Because we wouldn't want you to think you're trying to hide anything from your good and benevolent government. So that was a great story. Encryption's only for criminals. Also, we told you why your 2-year-old iPhone suddenly is outperforming an iPhone 12. We've got some news coming up on the program today about patches on that as well. Now, we did mention last week that there was a possibility that Microsoft would release the big Windows 10 upgrade on Tuesday, which was Patch Tuesday. So, by the way, your computer needs a reboot. If you haven't restarted your computer this week, please be sure to do so because there are emergency patches that need to be installed. This week, there was also an emergency patch delivered for Adobe Reader. That's one of those stupid little programs that you never really remember you have. You just know that PDFs just open when you open them on your computer. That's Adobe Reader doing that. And just about everybody has Adobe Reader at some point. If you have TurboTax installed on your computer, you have Adobe Reader. It comes as part of the package. If you have QuickBooks installed, you have Adobe Reader. It comes as part of the package. So this patch was really, really nasty. It allows people to take complete control of your computer, or the problem was they released a patch for it. If you have a subscription to Secure Updater on your computer, no need to do anything. Your Secure Updater, just take a look in the lower right corner. If your icon for Secure Updater by your clock is green, that means you've got all your patches and you are good to go. If it is any other color, if it is red, if it is black, you have a problem, and then we want to make sure we take a look at that and figure out what's going on for you. No charge for that, obviously. We'll take a look and figure. Unless it's expired, you have to pay your subscription. It's a whopping $25 for a year. So you might have to turn a few couch cushions over, but trust me, it's worth it. Also coming up on the show today, your printer is the next security risk on your network, so says HP. So a lot of people, especially now that we're all working from home, or we did for the last year, lots of people bought printers. They're actually really hard to get still. As a result, HP is warning people that the printer is going to be the next vector of attack for a bad guy to hack into your home office to try to get to your remote work. And so that's something we're going to take a look at today to find out what's going on there and what you need to do to protect yourself there. Also, we mentioned about the iPhone issues regarding the last update. There's a battery drain problem that's going on right now, and it's been confirmed across several models, not to mention the throttling problem that we talked about last week that made an iPhone 12 slower than a budget iPhone from 2 years ago. We're going to tell you what's going on and what to expect from Apple coming up next, because we do work on Macs, guys, in our service centers. We fix Apple computers all the time. And so it's one of the things. 1 week, the news just happened to line up that it was all Apple stories the entire day. And I got so much fan mail from people who thanked me for covering some Apple stuff. And I was like, we have a lot of listeners who have Apple computers. It's not that I dislike Apple computers. It's just that there's so many more PCs out there. The news usually is slanted toward PCs. But we do have an Apple story here for you today as well. 888-250-2091 is the number to join us on the program. This past Tuesday, I wanted to take a quick moment to thank all of you who tuned in for the guest appearance that I did here on the station. It went really well. There was some of the hours were better than others, in my opinion. Hour 2 was really good with Dr. Ernie Goss on inflation. It was a fun thing to do. I enjoyed myself, and I wanted to just take a moment to thank all of you who tuned in for that. It was great to have your calls, and apparently some of you contacted management as well, so thank you for that. I am humbled by that. I was stupidly, weirdly invested in making sure that show went well. I spent a ridiculous amount of time. I had 5 typewritten pages of show notes. Like, I came in and I handed producer Josh an agenda for the show. Like, here's your agenda. Just in case you don't have the digital copy, I printed you a backup paper copy. And he's like, whoa, aren't you somebody important? He's like, he's taking this way too seriously. And maybe I did, but it was super fun. So thank you everybody for tuning in. It was really cool. That podcast from that show is not online anywhere. They don't podcast the guest host because they never really know what they're going to say. You know, we just might want to forget that. So I'm asking for a copy of the podcast for myself so that I can listen to it and try to improve from it. And I'll see if I can't find some place to make that available if anybody wants to hear it that missed out on the program. All right. So we talked last week about the fact, like I said, that I thought Safe Upgrade might come out on Patch Tuesday. That was the rumor. It had never come out on a Patch Tuesday before that, but that was the rumor. And sure enough, it did not come out on a Patch Tuesday this time. So you did not miss the update. The 11th was the same day, coincidentally, that I was on the radio doing my fill-in show. And it was an election day. And I was starting to think maybe somebody was setting me up for failure or something. I don't know. Like, what's going on here? But it was like the stars were all aligning. And then, you know, the patch thing didn't happen. So you didn't miss the big Windows 10 update, which just means that it's coming sometime in the next 14, 15 days, you're going to get this update. Now, this update is not a security patch. It's not a small update. It's not it's more of a new version of Windows 10. So imagine like back in the day when you went from Windows 95 to Windows 98, or if you're a little bit younger than me, maybe you went from Windows XP to Windows 7 or Windows 7 to Windows 10. It's like that. It's just that the two operating systems are basically named the same thing. They're both named Windows 10, but what you don't realize is that there are different versions of Windows 10. And there are 3 different. So here's an example. This is why these patches are important. I tell you, if you don't get the patch, eventually you're not going to get updates anymore for your version of Windows 10. No one really knows what version of Windows 10 they're on. Only geeks know that kind of stuff. Normal people don't know that. That's why we make it our job to know that and tell you that when you come into the service center, that if it's behind, we get you caught up. But there are 3 versions of Windows 10 that just reach end of service. No more security patches are coming. If you run version 1909, which we see every single day in the service center, that's 2019 version of Windows 10 from September. If you're running 1809, a little more rare, but we see them once in a while, that's 2018 September. Also, 1803 is also expiring this week. So if you have either of those 3 versions of Windows 10, you are not going to get any critical security patches. If you have those 3 versions of Windows 10, you did not get, or you will not get next month's Patch Tuesday. Now, you got this one. You got this one for May. But after that, these 3 versions of Windows 10 are dead. And each time they release a new version of Windows 10, it obsoletes a previous version of Windows 10. So when they release the new version, which is why if they're obsoleting these 3, I'm guessing it's coming next week. Again, it's just a guess. But you can still go over to SchrockInnovations.com and pick up a copy of Safe Upgrade. Safe Upgrade is a program that we made at Schrock because the Windows update is free. A few people, we had a few trolls on Facebook like, why would I pay you to install an update that gets automatically installed for free? And actually, I'm calling them trolls, but it's a really good question because it sounds like a ripoff, right? Even the lovely Kimberly, she's like, I always hate it when you talk about Safe Upgrade because it seems like it just rubs you the wrong way that something is supposed to be free, yet you have to pay something. It just, she doesn't like it. And so if you feel like the lovely Kimberly, I'm sorry, but the reason that we created this is because it feels a lot worse when you get the free update, the free upgrade for your computer. Woohoo, I'm upgraded, except your computer doesn't reboot. Or when you get your woohoo, I'm upgraded, and it reboots and all your stuff is gone. Or you get woohoo, I'm upgraded. Woohoo, I'm upgraded. Woohoo, I'm upgraded. It just goes on forever. It never stops. Every time you reboot, woohoo, I'm upgraded. But you're never really upgraded because the upgrade is failing for, literally the first version of Windows 10 that came out, if it failed, their error box said something happened. And then in the description box, it said something happened. So if you appreciate error messages that say something happened, something happened. Well, no, something happened. It didn't work. That every 6 months, and it seemed to hit the same people every 6 months. And each time they came into our service center and had to pay us to fix their computer, we're the only people in the room to get mad at. It's not our fault, but we're the only people standing there to take the flack. And it happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. By the 4th time, we were getting sick of getting yelled at about something that wasn't our fault. So we decided to create a product that, number one, would redirect the people's anger toward whatever else in their lives that they have to worry about. Number two, it would ensure, because when we install Safe Upgrade, when we install the new versions of Windows 10 on the bench, they install like butter. Nothing goes wrong. But it's because we go through and we check for stupid things like, hey, did some idiot tear a capacitor off your motherboard? We check the capacitors. We check the power supplies. We check the hard drives. We make sure you're virus free, and then we install it. We eliminate all the variables, and then we install the product. And 99.9% of the time, it installs perfectly. And so Safe Upgrade literally installs the software the exact same way we would do it on the bench in the service center, but it does it for you at home. So you don't have to bring the computer in. Now, if something happens, and it doesn't work for some reason, that's because Safe Upgrade said, whoa, something is not right. Something stinks in Denmark. Don't install the update. We're going to have a bad outcome, and it's going to fail. Then you're going to call us and say, hey, I paid $55 for this software, and it failed. What kind of shysters are you people? And we'll say, well, we'll help you for free over the Schrock desk. And then we get on the Schrock desk and we try to get it going for you. And if we can't get it going over the Schrock desk, then we know there's something really wrong, because now we have one of our technicians installing it the way one of our technicians would install it, and it's not working. Your computer has a major problem. It's probably something physical. You probably tore a capacitor off the motherboard or did something else, silly. Power supply is failing. Something's going wrong in there. We need to get in there and figure it out, which means we need to see it in the shop. Well, at that point, it becomes an in-shop visit, which costs more than $55. It's a $30 price difference. You get the drift. We have a couple customers that seems to happen to every time, to the point where they just bring it in now because they know every single time it's going to happen. So rather than breaking it first, they bring it in first because it's cheaper to bring it in before it breaks. That's how predictable this stuff breaks. 80% of the people will have no problem at all. 20% of the people, you may as well go buy a lottery ticket because it's your lucky day. So that's what Safe Upgrade is. It's basically insurance for these updates is what it comes down to have someone there to hold your hand or to make sure that it gets installed properly. We literally have 72 copies left in stock on the website. So you can go over to SchrockInnovations.com. This is a software product that you purchase and you run from your own computer at home after the update is released. So you don't run it today because it won't do anything. It'll say it's not time yet, but you run it at home on your own. Go to SchrockInnovations.com, click on Shop, and then Specials, and then you can make the lovely Kimberly happy, because once we sell the last 72, I don't have to talk about it again, and then she'll be like, whew. 888-250-2091. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up the entire situation with the Colonial Pipeline. What happened? Did they pay the ransom? Did they not pay the ransom? How much was the ransom? And if they did or did not pay, why didn't anything get fixed yet? We're going to tell you exactly what's going on coming up next on Compute This.
Some people like desktops for their power and upgradability, but nothing rivals a laptop for computing on the go. But why should you have to sacrifice performance for portability? The innovators at Schrock want our customers to have it all, so we created a new kind of laptop, the solid-state laptop from Schrock Innovations. Solid-state laptops are built using the same frame and mainboards as regular laptops, but we've removed half of the moving parts while more than doubling the computer's speed. The result? Laptops that boot to Windows in 6 seconds or less, respond instantly to your commands, and can survive drops that put most laptops into the data recovery lab. Starting at only $499, solid-state laptops give you speed, reliability, durability, and performance for the same price most people pay for a cheap disposable laptop. The next time you're looking for a laptop, check out the solid-state laptops at SchrockInnovations.com or visit any of our service centers. Simple, solid, fast technology is what we do at Schrock. Schrock Innovations Data Recovery Lab saves the data the other guys can't. The next time your hard drive, camera card, or flash drive fails, let Schrock get your data back. Compute This Pro Tip 299. There are enough mothballed computers in U.S. homes to give one to every man, woman, and child in the country. Many of these computers find their way into landfills where they can leak cadmium, lithium, and other nasty chemicals into the groundwater. Schrock Innovations is very proud of the fact that we recycle more e-waste every year than we create. You can drop off any old or broken computer equipment to our service centers at any time, free of cost. We only charge $15 just for monitors because they are especially difficult to process. No appointment is required, and we accept all computer-related equipment like printers, keyboards, speakers, and accessories. Additionally, the rare earth elements in computers can be recycled right here in the U.S. to reduce our reliance on supplies from foreign countries. Take a moment, drop off your old computer equipment today, and Schrock will make sure it's properly recycled and put to good use right here in the U.S. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
And welcome back, folks. You're listening to Compute This. My name is Thor Schrock. I'm the owner of the Schrock Innovations Computer Company. We fix computers when they break. Is your computer not broken? Outstanding. Let's keep it that way. We maintain computers. Just like, it's springtime. You're supposed to have already had your checks done on your furnace and your air conditioner getting ready for summer. Because if you don't do that, that your air conditioner unit outside has a giant capacitor in it? And it can swell and pop, and some idiot can come along and just tear it off the board with a pair of pliers. No, it's a huge capacitor. It's like a beer can size capacitor. And when that goes bad, that's what causes the whole air conditioner system to go bad and get replaced. So having somebody come out and eyeball that capacitor, I keep an extra one at home, actually. I opened up my air conditioner, got the number off of it, and ordered it off Amazon because it was way cheaper than waiting until I desperately needed one on a Friday night at 7 o'clock. And I keep it downstairs in the basement, and if the air conditioner ever starts acting up, if you don't replace that capacitor in like a day, you blow a compressor, and then that's what's expensive. So having one of those handy is so there is your Sunday afternoon mission, guys. Go outside and disassemble your air conditioner. And as your wife looks at you and says, "What the heck are you doing?" You're like that guy that opens the hood of the car he's buying and looks at the engine, because there's obviously, I can tell just by looking at it, that this is a quality piece of engineering. It looks clean, I guess. Why are you in the... Well, Thor said... Yeah, oh, golly. All right, number to join us on the program, 888-250-2091. Want to throw a shout-out to all of those who are listening and viewing on Facebook right now. I genuinely appreciate you. I was so bored during the commercial breaks in that 4-hour program. Like, I didn't have any comments to deal with. I literally just sat here and, looked around. I read ahead for my next segment. And maybe that was because I had, uber prepared. It was I read the mission brief 77 times. I knew everybody's plan, everybody's job. If Josh had a heart attack, I could have jumped across and, revived him while I operated the board. It was, but I was just sitting here there's no one to talk to. There's no side conversations happening over here. So I really appreciate that. In fact, one of the things we have top fan Mary says on Facebook, "Kimberly, I'm one of those whose safe upgrade fails every time, so trust me, I'm happy to pay for it." So there you go. So, those are the kind of things that, you're on the right track, or if you go down the wrong track, or you hear people coming in like Thomas here from Manhattan, Kansas, coming in from outside of the metro area. We appreciate that. Patch Adams Tuesday. Keith is always good. Keith is always good for a one-liner over there. There's Blake. Good morning, Blake. Good to have you. And, of course, Winston, our unofficial audio check engineer of the Compute This radio program, reports that audio is good on Facebook. I appreciate it. You are now clear for donuts, sir. 888-250-2091. So we heard a lot about the Colonial Pipeline this week. The Colonial Pipeline obviously was that pipeline that crossed 10 states. They got hit by a cyber attack. It turned out that we didn't know it last week, but it was ransomware. So yay. Point for Compute This audience. It was ransomware. After you see these things enough, you can recognize the calling card. Okay, so the next thing, did they pay the ransom? And the answer is yes. They paid a $5 million ransom within hours of getting hit. So literally, now what happens is when you get hit with ransomware, it encrypts everything on your network first, and that can take days. So you're infected for days before you really notice you're infected. But then when you notice you're infected, everything around you is encrypted. So they pretty much immediately paid the Bitcoin ransom, which tells me that they had some Bitcoin laying around, because it takes more than 5 hours to get Bitcoin. If you don't have it, you can't just go buy Bitcoin in 5 hours. So they paid the ransom, $5 million worth of Bitcoin, by the way. They paid the ransom. They got the pipeline moving immediately, or they got the decryption process going. So, because once everything is encrypted, I mentioned it can take up to 10 days to encrypt everything. So now they have to decrypt everything, which is why I said there is no chance this pipeline will be operational this week. Whether you decrypt everything or you restore it from backups, it's going to take a day, 2, 3 days, and then you got to do all your checks and your safety things, and then it's a pipeline. So stuff starts moving through it, and it's a long pipeline. So it's going to take at least a week to get where it's going. Sure enough, they paid the ransom, but the decryption tool that was provided by the attackers was constructed so shoddily that it was running so slowly that it was actually faster for them to restore their backups. So they paid the ransom and then didn't use the decryptor tool that they paid for. So they undermined the entire official position of the U.S. government to not pay the ransom because it just reinforces future cyber attacks. And instead, they paid the ransom and then didn't use the decryptor anyway. So they didn't have to pay the ransom at all. Then, of course, whose fault is it? It was Bitcoin's fault. That's right. If that stupid Bitcoin wasn't here, there'd be no way to pay these criminals anonymously, and they wouldn't be able to do these ransomware attacks. If only we had some kind of tighter regulation on Bitcoin. And it was just such blather to hear all the news networks go on for a week about how if we could only, restrict Bitcoin. That's the thing about cryptocurrencies, guys, and that's why they're a big deal. You can't restrict them. You can't stop them. They're international, they're cross-border, they're cross-individual. Governments, they can they can penalize the heck out of you. They can confiscate everything you own. They can throw you in a jail cell. But unless you give them your private key, they can't take your crypto. It's not possible. So, I mean, it's literally that secure. So, yeah, if Bitcoin didn't exist, they'd have to like take a suitcase full of dollar bills or something. I don't know how. But long story short, the pipeline is operating. So that's, yay, pipeline's operating. The lovely Kimberly and I are going to South Carolina next week, and we're kind of like, we're driving, and we're kind of like, is there going to be gas to get home? And the answer is yes. By next week, the gas should be there. But one pump in Virginia actually hit $7 a gallon. 888-250-2091. Andy, Kathy, please stay on the line. I appreciate your patience. Your calls are coming up after the break. Coming up next on Compute This.
Schrock Innovations repair technicians also make house calls. Make an appointment and let us bring our award-winning computer support right to your home or business. In 1798, Eli Whitney's Connecticut Musket Factory was the first business in North America to use replaceable parts in a firearm. Before Eli's factory, if your musket broke, you had to send it away to an expert gunsmith for repairs, or just toss it and buy a new musket. Technology manufacturing has come a long way since the 18th century, but you wouldn't know it by looking at today's big box store computers. Dell, HP, Sony, and other manufacturers continue to take away your freedom to upgrade and repair your computer by eliminating expansion and repair options. Some desktops are even powered by a tiny laptop adapter. Schrock Innovations believes in Eli Whitney's idea of interchangeable and replaceable components, and that's why our custom-built modular computers last longer and cost less to repair than computers you see at big box stores. Ask your friends and family how often they replace their box store computers, and they'll probably tell you every couple of years. And what do they do with the old machines? They just get thrown out like broken muskets. Imagine a place where your computer's problems can be fixed quickly and inexpensively. Imagine keeping your computer for 6 years or more. You are imagining the kind of computers we build every day at Schrock Innovations. Our modular systems last longer, perform faster, and cost less over the long term than anything you can buy at a big box store. While the talented technicians at Schrock Innovations can't make you a musket even if they tried, our commitment to the freedom offered by modular computers is the modern-day extension of Eli's innovative musket factory. We think Eli Whitney would be proud, and you can take pride in owning a small piece of American innovation. The modular computer from Schrock Innovations. Compute This Pro Tip 843. Of all computer failures, the scariest and most expensive is the hard drive. But there are some steps you can take to save money and save your data before it's too late. Detecting failures early is important, so install a free utility like Drive Advisor from driveadvisor.com to monitor your hard drive's health and receive warnings when there's a problem. But most of all, hard drive failures happen slowly, so early detection is key to reducing the repair bill. Second, if your hard drive makes any unusual noises, immediately turn off your computer and do not turn it on again. These issues are physical problems, and the more you try to use it, the worse the damage becomes. Remember that most computer repair shops do not have the specialized equipment needed to recover data from a failed drive. Never open your drive or allow anyone else to do so. Open drives always cost more to recover. Schrock does not charge for data recovery evaluations and quotes, so let the local pros look at your drive before you make any recovery decisions. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Fox News, I'm Karen McHugh. Operations are back to normal along the Colonial Fuel Pipeline, but gas shortages can still be found.
In Georgia, Governor Brian Kemp has extended a state of emergency through next Saturday. More than 40% of gas stations in Georgia, Virginia, and South Carolina are out of fuel, according to Gas Buddy.
Fox's Jonathan Seri, the pipeline shut down following a recent cyber attack. The happiest place on earth is relaxing some of its COVID-19 restrictions.
Walt Disney World, the Disney resort in Orlando, says it will no longer check guests' temperatures and that for many areas, social distancing rules will be relaxed. Other Orlando theme parks like Universal and SeaWorld have announced similar loosening of COVID-19 policies. No word yet on if Disney will allow guests to go maskless.
Fox's Eben Brown. America is listening to Fox News.
Now, the News Radio 1110 KFAB Weather Watch.
Scattered showers and storms will increase throughout the day today. Otherwise, mostly cloudy skies are on tap with high temperatures topping out in the upper 60s. We'll drop down just into the upper 50s overnight tonight. A few lingering showers around on Monday with highs in the lower 70s. With Omaha's most accurate forecast, I'm 6 News First Alert meteorologist Mallory Schnell on News Radio 1110 KFAB.
Alrighty, folks. I hope everybody got their bathroom breaks in, refilled the coffee mugs, and is ready for another exciting half hour of Compute This. That's halftime is over, guys, and it's time to keep moving. 888-250-2091. That's the number that Andy has called. Andy, as promised, welcome to the program. How can I help you today on Compute This?
Good morning. I enjoyed what I heard on Tuesday, so I thought you did a wonderful job there.
Thank you.
A Mac user, I heard you last week talk about adding a VPN. I appreciate that. I was wondering if you could, one, expound on that, and then two, talk about a little bit more. You talk about Macs need antivirus, what the recommended antivirus software should be.
Gotcha. Great questions, Andy. And we don't, part of this, it's not that Mac people are resistant to antivirus software. The people who own Macs, I call them Mac people. It's like I'm calling you Democrats or something. It's not like Mac people do this. No, people who own Apple products have been conditioned by Apple to believe that those products are impervious from infection. And then it was very publicly thrown in Apple's face a few years back that was not the case. There was a Java problem that allowed specifically an attack vector on Apple computers. And it went national. It went Fox News was covering it in the middle of the afternoon. This was, I think, 3-4 years ago. And at that point, the veil, what we had been saying the whole time, because we see it in the service centers. People bring in Apple computers every time, and we run malware scans every single time one comes in, because they're either not running something or they're running something like Malwarebytes or something like that, and they think they're protected. We recommend Sophos Antivirus. It is an AI-based antivirus. It's what we offer for PCs, Macs, Android devices, and iOS devices. And those get hacked and attacked as well. We had a story last week about that. It's the same product for all the different devices. It is an AI-based product, so it's focused on prevention rather than response. So every other antivirus product pretty much waits for you to get attacked and then tries to mitigate that attack, tries to make it better. Sophos is the only software out there that has an anti-ransomware component. It's like I said, an AI-based software. So if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck, even though I've never seen that particular duck before. Well, that's what you want, because the bad guys are changing the viruses every few hours now. So even if your antivirus gets updated every 8 hours, that's still not enough. Every 6 hours, still not enough. You need something that can think. Then the third biggest advantage is it is all monitored and managed by Schrock. So it is actually remotely, this is the same thing that you get at work. If you have an IT administrator at work that's concerned about your security, if something goes off the deep end on your computer, we get that blinking red light at Schrock, and we address that. We help you. We actually call you and say, hey, something's going on with your computer. You're covered under warranty. We need to get it in here because it may have an infection or there's something. I see you're trying to go to this, the Bank of America website like 6 times in a row. I wanted to give you a call and let you know it's Bank of America, not Bank of America. Oh, thanks for that. I was wondering why it kept asking me for my password over and over and all my security questions over and over and over. I never remember even answering those security questions for Bank of America. Yeah, you should probably change all those. You should probably make up a whole new identity for yourself now. As far as VPNs go, the purpose of a VPN is to ensure that the communications that you have with a remote website or someone else are encrypted. So in other words, you know what was in the communication, and the website you were going to or the person you were talking to or the Zoom call person you were doing, they're the only other person that knows what was in that communication. And the immediate response, like Australia had last week, was, well, why would normal people who are not doing anything wrong need to have all of their stuff encrypted end to end? And if I change the question a little bit and say, okay, you put a letter in an envelope, and then you put that envelope in a mailbox. The U.S. government doesn't have the right to open your letter unless they have a warrant. If I open your letter, it's a federal crime. I'm a felon. Why do we expect better security from postal mail than we do from the internet? It's the same thing. You expect that privacy when you lick the back of that and get that stupid paper cut on your tongue. Because how many of us? I had to lick an envelope for a car for Mother's Day, and it's like, oh, ow, I forgot. That hurts. Yeah, because you just don't do that much anymore. So a VPN ensures that everything is encrypted from end to end. So your internet service provider doesn't know what websites you're going to, who you're talking to, what programs you're using on your computer. If you put it on your phone, you get a similar level of protection, although Apple will always know what apps you're using and everything, and Google will always know. And of course, signing into an account like a Google account and then using a VPN does not protect you from Google because you've signed into the Google account. Google knows who you are now, no matter what your signal is doing. But basically, this is called good operational security or good OPSEC. It's something that you should have in your life at all times. Some things don't work with the VPN. You can't order a pizza from Pizza Hut if your VPN is turned on. Same thing with Papa John's. You get like a wonky 2008 version of their website if your VPN is turned on. I don't know if it's just people in Chicago that see that or because that's where my VPN usually routes me through. And I use ExpressVPN. I pay for it. It's $100 a year, but it's fast and it's reliable. I never have to say, gee, is my VPN bad or have I lost my signal? I never have to ask that question because I know I've lost my signal if I lose my internet. So those are the 2 programs I'd recommend and why I would recommend them. But honestly, at this point, anyone who is concerned about their information security should be running a VPN on all of their phones and their tablets and their computers. Luckily, Express gives you 5 devices per license, so you have enough that you can run like you and your wife and a couple cell phones without having to pay a few $100s a year. The Sophos protection is a per device protection because it's administered by Schrock. So it's $160 the first year you get it, but then it's only $69.99 each additional year to keep it going forward.
Okay. Thank you very much, Thor. That was very thorough. Appreciate it.
No problems, Andy. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for calling the program today. Kathy, welcome to the program. How can I help you on Compute This?
Well, I think I broke Drive Advisor.
Oh, no.
It's been working fine forever. And this morning I made the mistake of installing Drive Advisor or Driver Support.
Ooh, yeah.
I can uninstall it because I did it just a couple of minutes ago.
Good. The driver support program, it uninstals. It truly uninstalls when you uninstall it. But you really, really don't want to have those drivers. So anybody else listening that has, I think AVG now does this, or Avast, who owns AVG, now does this too, where like, we'll update your drivers. It's a horrible idea. We've had so many support calls about people getting the wrong drivers and stuff not working on their computers. It's just a terrible idea.
Okay, I will uninstall it immediately.
All right. Now, if Drive Advisor is not working, first thing first is always, after you've installed or uninstalled, have you rebooted the computer yet?
No.
Okay, always reboot the computer after an install or an uninstall, especially an uninstall. And then Drive Advisor should automatically load with the computer, and you should be able to click on it and see that it's working. If it's not working for some
Okay.
reason, just give us a call in one of the service centers and we'll do a quick Schrock desk at no charge just to get it up and running again. There are some limited situations where Drive Advisor doesn't work on certain types of hard drives. The really, really, really cheap flash memory stuff that comes in some Chromebooks, for example, they put that same stuff in some PCs and it doesn't work with Drive Advisor. But if you had it working before, it should continue to work. But if you have a trouble, give us a call and we'll definitely get through or get you through that and get it working again for you.
Okay, I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah, in fact, during the Beef football game, we had our company Beef football game pictures on Facebook at facebook.com/Schrock Innovations, where we got all the people in the Schrock box up there and had a good time. We filled that box up for sure. And I think everyone was just happy to go out and do something. And, while we were there, of course, I habitually check my email. So I'm checking my email, and during the game, we had 3 customers whose hard drives failed. Their C drives started to fail during a football game. Yeah, they all got emails. And we're going to call them all today and let them know, just in case you didn't see the email because it got scooped to promos or whatever. It's not a promo. Your hard drive is bad. You need to do something about that. Then we check your warranty status. Are you a Schrock customer who's under warranty? Then we fix it for free. So you see, we check the warranties after we alert you first, but that's what Drive Advisor does, and you can get your copy free at driveadvisor.com. That's DriveAdvisor, E-R, because it's made in America. 888-250-2091. Final break of the program. When we come back, is your printer the next security hole in your network? Also coming up on the show, iPhone battery drains are confirmed from the last iOS update. What to do next? Coming up on Compute This.
Update all of your third-party apps on your computer with Secure Updater. It keeps all your apps running smoothly and helps block viruses. Download it for free today at secureupdater.com. Every person listening to this broadcast has either experienced data loss or knows someone who has. When you think about it, you have a lot more data stored in many more places than you'd like to admit. Have you downloaded those videos from your phone, backed up the pictures on your iPad, or even tackled that sometimes daunting task of backing up your entire computer's hard drive? Most people just don't back up their stuff, and that's why Schrock Innovations has one of the most advanced data recovery centers in the Midwest. Equipped with the latest DDI data imaging devices, state-of-the-art custom recovery software, and Omaha's best data recovery technicians, Schrock Innovations has a 96.8% success rate when recovering data from damaged hard drives, flash drives, camera cards, and more. We all know we should back up our data, but if you are ever caught in a data loss nightmare, call the experts at Schrock Innovations to get your data back right where it belongs, safe and backed up on a stable hard drive. Compute This Pro Tip 578. Technology is constantly changing, so how can you tell when the time has come to recycle your old outdated computer and invest in a new one? Experts have rules of thumb and formulas, but Schrock believes the answer is simple. You should replace your old computer when it can no longer do the things you need in a secure way. For example, you should not be using operating systems like Windows XP or Vista because they're no longer maintained by Microsoft and they're not secure. And if your computer cannot run Windows 10, it's probably time to begin saving for a replacement. If your existing computer requires a repair and that cost is 50% or more of the cost of a new computer, it might be time to consider a replacement. But keep in mind, additional costs like data transfers and important software you have to upgrade like genealogy software or Quicken. And also keep in mind that modern computers are engineered to last 18 months for a normal user. And don't worry, you are considered a normal user. Schrock modular PCs and solid-state laptops are specifically designed to last 4 to 6 years for that same normal user, saving your family money and time. This pro tip brought to you by Schrock Innovations Computer Company.
Oh, folks, the funnest stuff happens during the commercial breaks. Welcome back. Thanks for listening to the program today. I appreciate you spending your morning with us here Sunday morning. 888-250-2091. That's the number to join us on the program. If you ask a question, make a comment, we'll get you in the drawing for a $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Now, we talked a couple weeks ago about a story about how your iPhone, an old 2-year-old budget iPhone, so an iPhone that was budget in 2018 is currently faster, or 2019, is currently faster than the iPhone 12 after the most recent iOS update. This is a definitely, a lot of people said, Thor, is this update safe? And a week after the update hit, I didn't see any major problems. There was nobody talking about, oh, no, watch out for this or anything. So, yeah, it's safe. You're not going to lose your stuff or lose access to your phone. But then all the performance stuff, after people had it for a week, they're like, wow, my battery sure isn't lasting very long. And then someone online did some benchmarks, and they found that they were just testing the iPhone 12 against an older iPhone, and the old iPhone won. And they like went, what? They checked their data, like, how did this happen? Why? That's not supposed to happen. It was supposed to lose. And sure enough, they ran the test again, and it lost again. They ran 3 different tests, and they lost on all of them. Well, that's because whatever Apple did in iOS 14.5.1, it's created several annoying problems, according to ZDNet. If you notice your iPhone is slower and your battery life is worse since installing iOS, well, you noticed right. This is one of the reasons why I was faced with a decision to buy a new phone here recently. And I gave some serious thought to switching to an Apple device. You know, if you have to pick a big tech giant to trust with your data, Google is not the first one that comes to mind for me. Apple kind of has an edge. At least they make a show of protecting your stuff. They stood up to the FBI, for example, when they wanted the iPhones unlocked. Apple said they couldn't unlock it. Now, a security firm in Israel said, hey, we got your back, guys, and got right in. But nevertheless, Apple kind of stood their ground. So that's a good thing, right? So I thought about it, and the thing that made me buy another Samsung phone was the battery. The battery in an iPhone is literally half the size of the battery in my Android phone, and I pound my battery. So at the end of the day, I'm down to 10, 20% if I don't have a charger, and I'm living on the charger. So I was worried if I got an Apple device that my battery would drain so fast I wouldn't have a phone all day. Well, Apple counters that by having really, really efficient devices. The chips, they sip power. Like, they don't gulp power, they're just sipping on it. So the battery is supposed to last longer, which means you can have a smaller battery or a smaller phone or a lighter phone because the battery doesn't have to be so big. Great, unless you screw up the software that sips and all of a sudden it becomes like a drunkard at the bar at happy hour just slamming shots, which is what it's doing right now. So if you've noticed your iPhone is not doing well, they're going to fix all this stuff probably in iOS 14.5.2. But I want you to know it is not in your imagination. Your phone is slower and your battery is not lasting as long. So you've lost speed and battery life. So make sure you keep a charger handy with the iPhone. And rest assured, 14.5.2 will be coming. We will let you know when it gets here. And oh, wait, hold on a sec. How the fix is coming in the form of iOS 14.6. So it looks like 14.5.1 is the final 14 flavor, and they're going to go to a 14.5 flavor. They're going to go to 14.6 next. It's currently in beta. This upcoming update doesn't suffer from battery and performance issues, at least not at the time of this writing. So it'll probably be released sometime in the next couple weeks. Until then, you're just going to have to live with it. 888-250-2091. Now, HP had an interesting story this week. HP said that they're expanding security services for printers at home or in the office. The headline, in the era of remote work, printers are a potential attack point which could make corporate networks and data vulnerable. So they call this in security a vector. This is an attack vector. So how do we get into the super secure corporate network? The easiest way to do that is to compromise somebody at home who has lower security standards that already has access to the super secure network. And so what you'll see here is attacks coming in that attack not only the printer itself on your network. There was a huge security vulnerability this week in Wi-Fi that was disclosed that literally impacts every Wi-Fi device ever created, going back to 802.11.a, all the way back. We're talking Wi-Fi kind of hit the scene in about 2000, 2001. So that's, most of us have been alive a lot longer than Wi-Fi. Most of us, not all of us, Delaney. So anyway, the long story short here, guys, is if you can penetrate someone's Wi-Fi network and get past that, a lot of us, our router acts as a natural firewall. It acts like a splitter, and the bad guys can't get past your router. Well, these vulnerabilities in Wi-Fi would allow the guys to get past your router. The bad guys can get past that natural firewall, which exposes your Alexa devices. Oops, sorry, I just said that out loud. Sorry, everybody who I just activated. Can the radio activate itself? So if you just said a word, play this radio station, could you get everyone to tune their... Interesting. There's a Super Bowl commercial for a radio station, right? Or a competing TV station? I don't know. So if your printer is on this wireless network and the bad guys can penetrate it, HP is saying we can't count on your network security to keep our printer and our shoddy software safe. shoddy is my editorializing, because none of it is encrypted. It was never designed for security in mind. It's kind of like our space satellites. Do you know that satellites in orbit are not encrypted by anything? If you were just floating along in orbit, you could glom onto the side of a satellite and plug in, the satellite equivalent of a USB cable and reprogram that thing any way you want. There's not even a password. Because everyone said, really, I know Elon does a lot, but I've not seen him floating around in orbit with a USB cord yet. That's not going to happen. But it could. And that's the thing. Nobody ever anticipated it. That doesn't mean it couldn't happen. So HP is saying no one ever anticipated that people could get past the firewall, but it could happen. And so as a result, we're going to start encrypting all printer traffic. So when we send print jobs to the print queue, we're going to start encrypting those. Now, guys, if you're questioning whether or not you should have a VPN on your computer, HP is saying they're going to encrypt the job that you send to your printer because the privacy of that print job is that important. But you don't need a VPN. No, that's only for criminals. Encryption, it's not necessary to keep things secure at all. They're also going to change the way that their software functions on your computer, including an innovative and easy new way to order supplies. Because, we got to sell the ink. That's the commodity that we're selling that we went to the Supreme Court to have ruled as a product, so we didn't fall under the rules of commodities. Because you can trade your coffee, you can trade your copper, you can trade your steel, but apparently you can't trade barrels of HP ink because that is an intellectual property protected product. 888-250-2091. No one has the patent on oil. You know what I mean? Like, you can't say, this is our oil. This is oil. You can't drill oil. It's oil. Well, this is our ink. You can't make ink. It's our ink. And you can't refill our cartridges either because that's our cartridges and it needs our ink. They actually went to the Supreme Court and fought that fight and won. Can you believe it? Julia, welcome to the program. How can I help you today on Compute This?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to get an update on when you might be setting up a location in the Kansas City area.
Oh, wow. It is active on our minds. When we launched Des Moines, one of the things is we got really used to the Omaha media market, and we knew what things cost. We knew how much radio was, and then we opened Des Moines, and Slate, our advertising company, got back to us and said, this is what the bill is going to be for the opening you want to do in Des Moines. After I picked my jawbone up off the table, I'm like, why is it so flippin' expensive? They have fewer people. And it's like, well, it's just the way that market is. It's technically a larger media market because the people are just more distributed. So yes, the population of West Des Moines is very small. It's kind of like the population of Overland, Kansas would compare to the population of the Kansas City metro area. And so basically, yeah, we had to pay a ridiculous amount of money. It was something like $55,000 for 2 months of marketing. I mean, it was the most I've ever spent on advertising in a single shot in my life. And then the next thought in my head was, sweet baby Jesus, what's Kansas City going to cost? Because that's an even bigger media market. So basically, we've launched the Des Moines Service Center. Everything is going really well with that. We are in a holding pattern right now because we want to make sure we get this taken care of. And we actually have to build some new systems. We had to build some new systems to deal with geographically distant locations. Part of that was a middle management layer to make sure that we have a management figure coming in from outside to, not because we can't trust our people, but drift is a real thing. Like, if we don't go down to each service center, twice a week, it just works better to do it this way here. We like it better this way here. And then suddenly you have one service center doing something completely different than the others, and that leads to divergent customer experiences. And sometimes, maybe they have a good thing. Maybe that does work better in their service center, but their service center is unique because of X, Y, or Z. And because of that, we can't replicate that in the other service centers. And we need to have a consistent product. So even if it's better for that one location, what we need to focus on is a way to take that betterness and institutionalize it across all locations rather than just allowing you to kind of, be a cowboy out here on the edge. And if we put a shop in Kansas City right now, we would definitely have a cowboy on the edge experience, and we don't want that to be the first experience our Kansas City listeners have with Schrock Innovations. So one of the things we're going to be doing is probably adding another layer, another person in that middle management layer. Not another layer, but another person, because 4 locations and one guy that's supposed to hit each of them twice a week, and one of them is a 3-hour drive or 2-hour drive away, that gets tough. He's on the road continuously. Kansas City would be a 3-hour drive. So, I mean, it would be even tougher. We're going to need some help doing that. For our corporate services and our web design, actually the Des Moines location, we've had more interest in our corporate services and web design services almost than our consumer services. We didn't expect that, and our systems weren't prepared for that. So we've had to make some adjustments to get to do that as well. Now everything is running smoothly. So there's some things we have to do, Julia. I can tell you for sure it's not going to happen in 2021, but plans are being laid for it for upcoming time after that. I promise you that. We are not done growing Schrock Innovations. There are going to be additional service centers, and the Kansas City market is absolutely perfect for our product. There's nothing like it. People need it. There's lots of independent computer repair shops in the Kansas City metro area. I've been into a lot of their service centers because they don't know who I am yet. See, I can't shop any of our competitors here because everybody knows who I am. If I take the blue shirt off, it doesn't matter. Like, that's Thor Schrock. I see you. Is that a mustache? What are you trying to do, Thor? Is that a recovery beard? I don't know. But basically, if we go down to Kansas City, I can go shop everything. So my wife gets to go shop for furniture, and I get to go shop computer repair stores. You walk in, and I've seen every type down there, everything from the sole proprietor who has let go from a job or quit his job and laid out his own shingle, all the way up to some shops that would really be competitors for Schrock. That do some things really well. And that's, I laugh about the start of the program, Julie. I don't know if you heard it, but we were laughing about this one competitor we went to who literally talked trash to one of my technicians. And it's like, we have our monthly manager meeting and we're going to get back together and share our experiences. And I think he's going to win the prize because he was the only one that got treated like absolute garbage that I know of so far. But, when you go into the shops and you see that level of the lack of care for people, you realize how special the product is that you have. And so nothing would please me more than to get our 5th location up and running in Kansas City. And it's something that's on my agenda. I have to make sure we get everything else, all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, because the worst thing that you can do is market a product that doesn't meet expectations.
Okay. Well, thanks for the update.
No worries. Thank you for calling, Julie. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on the program. We got you in the drawing as well for the $25 Schrock Innovations gift certificate. Today's winner is Andy. Congratulations. You've got yourself $25 at Schrock. I will email that over to Addie, who will add that to she'll contact you to add that to your Schrock account and get you up and running there as well. Please stay tuned for the After Schrock. After the show here, we do a little quickie on Facebook. Facebook.com/Schrock Innovations. About 6 minutes after the hour, we'll go live there again. And we get to talk about everything that we didn't either have time to talk about on the program today, or things that just weren't completely computer related, but still are really interesting and didn't fit. So we're going to talk about some of that stuff. We'll probably talk a little bit about the segments that we did on the show last weekend as well. Thank you so much for joining us for the program today. We'll see you again next weekend for another edition of Compute This.
This is News Radio 1110 KFAB Omaha. Online at KFAB.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app. And on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos.